This video was made possible by the Corporation for YouTube Broadcasting, and from monthly Patreon support by viewers like you. Thank you.
Destination reached.
Alright, we need you to come with us.
Plan not communicated. Location of rest of me, Earth.
Yeah, I get that problem. My trailer just kind of vanishes half the time, and then that sort of just reappears when we do the whole truck thing. Don't you have the same deal with the rest of your body? Like, we're facing the whole Decepticon army here. We kinda need you.
Answer unknown. Try this. I have not.
I don't know, man. Give it a go. Worst case scenario, nothing happens, and we face the Decepticons with just the 5 of us. Hey, look at that! See, you did it!
7 inhabited worlds, a planetary battle station, 3 space cruisers, and Bumblebee destroyed by this course of action.
Very good. Now let's go stop Megatron! Why, hello YouTube! Greetings from the Lazy Eyebrow to review 106, Siege Omega Supreme. And would you just look at the size of this thing? He's huge! Indeed, for this is a Titan-class review. But before we can look at the figure for Titanic proportions, we first have to look at the little Legends-class guy he came with. This is Autobot Countdown, a bland little red rover that is a comic book character. I think this is too bland, mind you, so let's add a pop of chrome just for the fun time's sake. There we go, that's a little better. So who is Countdown? For those of you like me who don't read the comic books, Countdown is a little guy that travels the galaxy righting wrongs and freeing colonies from slavery or something or other. Basically, he's an intergalactic hero that I've never heard about. He turns into the Mars rover, or whatever he's supposed to be, and that's about it. His transformation is stupid simple, and that's just unfolding the legs and turning the arms, and here he is. Is this accurate? I mean, aside from my Chrome editions, I want to say it is, but I don't read the comics, so... Oh well. His whole shtick is he has this rocket that he travels around in that also has a launch-based platform that helps launch the rocket, but also fits inside the rocket during travel, not unlike a certain Titan-class figure we're going to talk about real soon. Honestly, I like this little nod. It's pretty clever that they would do it this way, that you can take Omega Supreme, kind of just ignore that it is Omega Supreme, and basically just buy a $5 Countdown figure, along with this $245 playset to let you bust out some sweet stories about Countdown and his little rocket. And his articulation isn't terrible either. Like, it's not great or anything, but look at his proportions. He can do that kneeling pose, almost like he's proposing to something like a champ. Unfortunately, because the arms are the way that they are, doing the superhero landing is kind of out of the question, but oh well, we can live. Anyway, where does Countdown fit into my collection? He fits real well into a drawer of extras and accessories along with Minimus Ambus, another fan favorite on this channel that won't let me forget that he's part of Ultra Magnus. These two get to make up the first two members of Lazy Eyebrow's collection of comic book characters that I don't care about. Lecoq Tidga, for short. Now, before anyone gets all in my face, Drift isn't part of this club. Why, you may ask? 'Cause dang, he is one fine Autobot, and I actually care about him. Anyway, speaking of characters coming up to the shins of another character, let's talk about the meat and potatoes of this review, Countdown Omega Supreme. So first off, we get this tank mode that's super reminiscent of the original tank from both the toy and cartoon, mind you with a few different colors here and there. It comes with 3 different cannons, 2 at the side, and 1 main supposedly spinning cannon, and I do mean supposedly. Like the G1 toy originally had this feature as its head, thus the point of spinning around and such. In fact, it was even battery operated to go around a track and the cannon to continuously spin. Here though, the cannon is a faux part that does indeed spin, if Omega's big fat head wasn't hiding inside the cannon blocking the swivel point. So basically, his head, which is supposed to be the cannon, is in the way of the big dumb cannon. I get why they did this the way they did though. It looks way more menacing and powerful to have the cannon be a separate piece, not to mention to get rid of the visible face syndrome. It just doesn't work super well because all I see is some guy's head looking through
the world's most powerful pair of glasses?
Now another thing he comes with are these blast effects, which might just be my favorite part of the set, which always seems to happen to me for some reason. MB13 Soundwave is an amazing figure. What's my favorite part? The 3-inch cassette that turns into a bird. Naturally. This 2-foot behemoth that turns into a base tank and rocket. What's my favorite part? Oh heck yeah, give me them blast effects. So you get a big one, a tall one, 2 mediums, and 3 little end pieces. And as an added bonus, they're gummy Coca-Cola flavored. Do not attempt to eat. Lazy Eyebrow is well aware that this is not food. Please don't grow in the comments for how your children who I'm not aiming this at, who also shouldn't be watching unless they get fined by cop and tried eating Omega's blast effects and then ended up in the hospital with Omega Supremeitis. I'm not a lawyer, health professional, doctor, football coach, or Autobot leader. Please drink responsibly, fun to play with, not to eat, and loving, live large, big, looking good. It's better here. Copyright 1984, 1991, 2001, 2010, 2019. I'm not a crook. So you can just go ahead and take these blast effects and really pull off this look that this tank is just a crawling dreadnought of firepower. It's awesome! Another cool thing is that the articulation isn't just limited to pointing forward all the time. Heck, it's not even limited to just even a slight increase. Heck, no. You can get this guy pointing all the way up. That brave Autobot, standing up to that crazed tank. Optimus, that tank is your Autobot. Oh, great. Why don't you just tell everybody? Thank you for stopping, Omega.
Fuel levels depleted. Stopping involuntary.
Oh. Well, why don't you transform and I'll go for some energon? Doesn't that sound nice?
Right after I blow up one thing.
Not the sky. That's where the clouds are born.
They were spying on us!
So anyway, let's take a look at the base mode, and here are some massive departures from both the original toy and the cartoon. And in this case, I don't necessarily mind so much, I suppose. Like, the original toy was certainly amazing once you've actually got around to fiddling with all those bits. It had this really cool track and the motorized tank, but this still has some of those features in spirit. While, yes, the track is now 4 inches off the ground, or a few feet in scale terms, the core of what it was is still there. The design cues are still present, the ramps are still there, the centerpiece of the base still looks like it did for the most part, although much, much bigger than what it used to, mostly due to a few new design elements. Rather than be a base mode made up of essentially what was all the armor pieces, Siege Omega elects to use basically the core element of what is Omega's body in a base-type shape. And this is nothing new. It's what we've seen them do for Metroplex and its retool Fortress Maximus, and I didn't have Trypticon, so I can't really comment on that. This results in what makes the body into an alt mode rather weak in terms of its 1984 predecessor. Mind you, the sacrifice is kind of a moot point in that we barely ever use the base move for display. Kids won't care either if this is their gift because they have nothing to really compare it to, and to the fact that functionality still works, kind of. What I'm trying to say is, it's an alright base mode, but it doesn't actually impress me as much as the tank mode sort of does, and I'm moving on from there. A testament to that functionality, though, is the track is still a complete circuit. This makes it great for Countdown to do laps around his rocket ship base. That's definitely a nod to Starsaber's team's headquarters, and certainly not in any way, shape, or form also a robot found in 85 Season 2 of Transformers. But here's a fun little thing, though. Much like Metroplex was, This happens to also accommodate the 187 scale cars fairly well, which is semi-surprising to me, but hey, I'll take it. Okay, so that's 2 out of the 3 parts to this base set. Let's talk about what actually does impress me about the whole kit and caboodle, the rocket ship. This is one part of the box set that I felt did extremely well. No longer is it just 2 forearms coming together to make a stubby little rocket. Heck no. This is forearms, biceps, shoulders, and this upper back coming together to make this 27-inch rocket ship that also happens to be taller than the final robot himself. Like, that's absolutely insane. This looks like such a powerful spaceship that can hold many metric tons of solid fuel for rocketing off to all parts of the galaxy. I mean, it doesn't help that it's kind of bland, but hey, they make stickers for that, and my oh my, do they ever bring out all the great detail they poured into the mold of this set. Like, this is such a huge rocket. Here's some combiners hauling around to give you a sense of size here. Heck, if you wanted to take this and say this was your stand-in for a model of one of the Apollo missions, the world's your oyster. Like, you got this really detailed nose cone, a command pod, and then the rest of the thing that just follows out to this really incredible rocket that is just amazing. Now, this being Siege, it has to come with some sort of blemish for some reason. Now, the choice for this guy was burn marks around a port, as if one of the points was on fire or something and it got really hot. But they cut the O2 supply and the fire was extinguished, and now the rest of the rocket's okay. Down below, you'll find some translucent orange support stands for the rocket. Now, I have no clue why this particular color of plastic was chosen, but honestly, I don't care. Half the time I barely notice that it even is translucent, and really, if it bothered me that much, orange paint isn't exactly hard to come by. Regardless, the bottom of the rocket has a spot for 5mm stuff to go. Naturally, the blast effects are going to go here. And finally, up top, we get to see the opening doors for the command modules where Countdown, or really any other monkey you want to launch into space, can have a rockin' time sailing through the stars. So basically, that's my review for all the different components that this guy turns into. To sum up, base is alright, tank is alright, and rocket is alright! For size comparison, Siege Class Mirage, Mech Fans Toys Rock, Custom Painted Siege Ironhide, Siege Astrotrain, Masterpiece Bumblebee version Best, Siege Optimus, Combiner Wars Jetfire, Combiner Wars Superion, Cool Become Brave Undersized Knockoff Devastator, Masterpiece Megatron version Worst, and finally some movie Constructicons because hey, why not? And before you ask, yes, obviously everything I have in my collection is one day getting a review, I just don't know when. It's just basically whenever it strikes the fancy for me. Alright, transformation, and it's somewhat compartmentalized, though going back and looking at the previous G1 figure, oh boy, it's a vast improvement, so here we go. First off, remove the tracks running the base mode. Straighten the legs, stand the figure up, collapse the ramps, rotate the upper bit 180, collapse the tracks into themselves. Now on the tank, move the side turrets up, which I suppose you could also count as the turret articulation, I'm just an idiot apparently. Unfold the front compartment, which also doubles as a troop transport, which, again, I neglected to talk about earlier, but hey, here it is. Anyway, rotate around the turret and tuck it away. Again, it's a faux part, and that never goes well with me, but it serves its purpose, I guess. Collapse the whole thing in half next and flatten out the neck bit. On the rocket, open up these doors, open up this entire side section, and fold it all into itself. Then fold the half sections down. On the base, put the torso tank into the hollow cavity. Fold the guns down, though honestly you might need to make sure it's done before that, as these gun tips are supposed to be behind this paneling. I just forgot to do that while filming. But watch, you fold up the battle carrier door, and through the magic of film and television, they're all of a sudden where they need to go. Close up the crotch door, fold down the yellow chest doors, take the rocket and slot it into the gap of the back, take the tracks and on their respective sides slot them into this groove. On the back plug the rocket boosters into their peg holes, fold the arms down, and extend the forearms. And here we have Omega Supreme, and my, oh my, what a tall boy he is. I love the red that pops on an otherwise entirely gray body. The yellow as well makes a nice contrast and fits in nicely with all the red. All in all, this is very clearly Omega Supreme, and far superior to the G1-ish repaint I tried hunting down that separated into two halves. Yes, we finally have an Omega Supreme to call our own into our collection that didn't cost us $400 US. Instead, we got one that's 5 inches shorter for only $170. Compared to the nonsense that is the whole Unicron debacle, I'd say this is one time where Hasbro came out on top here. Like, you got just an excellent head sculpt here, amazing ab detail with an Autobot logo that just pops hard against the red and yellow it's set in. The claw hand features some really intricate jet detail, mind you none of it can do anything except the 5mm peg hole at the end of it. The leg armor is wonderfully detailed with all them greeble lines, and look, he can even hold 4 power cables without them getting in the way of each other, which means I can plug in my internet, monitor, computer, and my printer without this guy even breaking a sweat. The back of the legs are just as neat and tidy and well detailed as the fronts are. Heck, even the back, which on most figures has been neglected, and where on the big figure like this I don't exactly expect it to be anything substantial, ends up looking just amazing. So clean and tidy, with the tracks tucked away and the booster pack looking just as amazing as the rest of the figure. So what else is there to say about Omega Supreme, really? He's a great looking figure that easily fits in your Siege line, and an argument could be made for the MP line too, considering again, the third party one is only a few inches taller. For size comparison, Micromaster Countdown, Titans Return Bumblebee, Master P Bumblebee version Best, Siege Hound, Siege Ratchet, Siege Optimus, Unique Toys Sound Mixer, Combiner Wars Superion, Underscaled KO Devastator, which, yes, I get that Devastator isn't supposed to be this much shorter than him in the cartoon, though he is supposed to be shorter in general, just not this much shorter. But I much prefer the size scaling compared to the rest of the cast, and thus why I picked this one up as opposed to the Combiner Wars version. And finally, Masterpiece Megatron version Worst. Now, his articulation isn't exactly something to sneeze at either, and oddly enough is more leg-centric than it is arm-centric. Like, check this stance out. We have ankle, knee, thigh, and waist articulation. The proportions are all excellent, and you can really pull off all the action poses you want. And the figure will hold these poses, which is such an improvement over the likes of Fort Max and Metroplex. But unfortunately, because of the proportions in the source material and the design elements, the arms get to suffer. Like, sure, all the articulation points are there, don't get me wrong. The elbow, the biceps, shoulder all move like you'd expect it to. It's just that the chunky forearms always seem to get in the way of you actually being able to do anything with it. That's not to say you can't have any fun, mind you. Like, you get this action pose where he's up and nuking everything on the battlefield that isn't covered in Electrum, scolding Optimus for making him destroy 7 star systems, a few battle stations, and everything else in the wake across the galaxy, story time with Optimus, and even being a bridge for car chases, and vehicular convoys. And of course, for more fun, you can work these little blast effects, which again are my favorite part. Omega Supreme gets to shoot fire blast at everyone, but then again, so does good old Bruticus, provided that Omega shares. Any of the Combiner Wars jets, and probably the new Earthrise Seekers now get jet fire as they take off. Rocket cars can be a thing. Or heck, what if your turbo diesel engine ran away from you, and now you have an onboard fire to deal with? So yeah, Omega Supreme is a great figure. He fits in with your Autobots, your big Autobots, and your little Autobots. Quite frankly, he's a great addition that fits in with the rest of your Unit Class Ration Siege line for an outstanding Autobot lineup. And that's kind of where it ends for me. This can't be overstated. He looks incredible! But his weird posability and the how big he is make this guy a pain to animate. I'm not wowed over 2 out of the 3 modes, and in general, I'm glad I bought the thing, but much like Metroplex and Fort Max, I know for a fact it's going to sit in a corner collecting dust, and maybe used once or twice for the odd animation on my end. So those are my thoughts. Great figure. Okay articulation. Man, it's a pain to animate. This has been the Lazy Eyebrow.